Your handbook that you've made, which is very helpful to kind of summarize the program, said, quote, to make needed changes takes energy. To get the energy, your body often slows you down to reduce your energy output. It wants more energy to be available for internal rebalancing, end of quote. So I understand, relate to this, that this kind of program takes a lot of rest and quiet time. Can you talk more about that?
Yes, that is one of the biggest challenges for us, because getting rest, oh my gosh, it's like, seriously,
I don't like doing that.
big challenge, right?
I want to do more, not less.
Yes, and that's one of the things too, is our society wants us to be out moving around, and it's a societal thing like that we need to be out busy. Heaven forbid that we'd stop and take a rest and sit and be still in the quiet of our own mind and be still and centered, you see? Yes. So with that, that's just part of it. To heal, to rebalance, to say we're talking about trillions of cells that we have in our body, trillions. And we have at least 17 minerals that we're trying to work to remineralize the body and get these ratios back the way they need to be.
And we're talking not too much, not too little.
Exactly. And we're also talking about a system that's a body that's got a whole lot of things going on. I mean, just think about the body, the miracle that this is.
It is.
That our bodies are, right?
Yeah.
So if your body is loaded with heavy metals, loaded with chemicals, loaded with plastics, loaded with fire retardants, all of these things, and you are used to going because you've been keeping yourself going with vitamin B12 shots, Red Bulls, tons of coffee, over exercising. It was all about caffeine and stimulants. You name the stimulant, man. If it was legal, I was doing it. You know what I'm saying? So,
and sugar. A lot of people.
And the ultimate
to get some energy.
So we don't even know what it feels like to be rested.
I know.
So when we start slowing down, a lot of people get really scared. They really don't like it.
I know. I would tell my friends, the worst part of this program is supposed to rest a lot, and it's the least costly, but it's the one I'm worst at doing.
Yes. And for me also, I guess one of the silver linings of the pandemic was that I was forced to rest. I had no other choice, really,
Yeah, you can't get out and do much.
Yeah, a lot of people took their, they went electronic and took that to the nth degree. But for me, I didn't do that. I rested. I went deeper into meditation, deeper into my personal work is what I did.
Oh, I admire that. I do.
So
I was just listening to this famous Christian teacher, Joyce Myers, and she asked this big crowd, how many of you feel guilty when you stop doing? And I know there's probably over 1,000 people in her crowds. And she said, oh, I see most of you do. So we're not alone.
Yeah, we are so not alone. So your body knows you enough. And some people knows you well, so better than you know yourself. And it says, okay, it's time to stop. You've got to stop.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, I can't do anymore.
Yes.
As much as I'm pushing myself, I'm like, okay.
And I have a friend who is very much like the rest of us. She'll push herself until her body just says, okay, you're done. You're absolutely done. You're going to have an accident now because you won't stop.
Oh.
So she's real accident prone. And I mean, she's broken wrist, but but she won't stop, And
I know it's a compulsion to keep going.
Yes.
And it somehow seems like if you do enough, you're going to feel better about yourself, but it doesn't normally usually work that way.
Right. So we need to have energy so that we can rebalance internally at the cellular level. And the only way to do that is to rest and sleep.
Right.
And some people just sleep through it. Some people sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep and sleep.
Well, one thing that I wondered, I said, could that be true? But I was listening to another woman who used to follow the program, and she teaches a lot about detoxing heavy metals, Wendy Myers. And she said when she was on the program the first year, she said she just, quote, slept and slept. So that was validating to me because I could see she had plenty of energy when I was seeing her talking at that time.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you just what would your opinion be of what percentage of chronic health problems are related to or caused by heavy metal toxicity?
For me, my opinion is 100%. Absolutely think it's, and this is my opinion. There's no scientific data out there that we can verify this.
Well, and
with.
I should have also asked not just heavy metal toxicity, but the out of balance, not having enough of the right minerals and having too much of a mineral which becomes toxic. I should, sorry, make that clear.
Right. Yeah, the oxide, there's minerals we can have, like calcium in our body. Just to get a little more clarification, we can have calcium in our body, but too much of calcium becomes toxic and irritating to the body as too little. So we have to, it's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. We got to get just right with every one of our minerals and start and escorting out those heavy metals. It's really the bottom line. Yeah.
So Wendy Myers also said, a podcast 2005 Bulletproof Toolbox, she said, quote, some metals are harder to get out, like lead and cadmium. They can take up to 10 years to be completely removed from the body because they are so toxic. They can only be released at low levels, very little bit at a time, end of quote. Would you agree with that, or do you want to say anything more about that?
I absolutely agree with that. Lead is highly targeted to the bones and the bone marrow. So you've got to really get down into the red blood cells and have pretty much everything else. Like, you have to have a certain level of health to be able to start dumping out lead. And the same thing with cadmium. I've dumped cadmium once in 7 years. I'm not healthy enough yet to dump cadmium.
Wow.
But on the other hand, I have to honestly say that I was a kid, and I know a lot of people in my cohort, in my age range. I used to play with mercury in the ball of my hand.
Oh no!
And when I was a kid, we used to play with mercury, and I had mercury fillings. So chances are, and I wore a copper IUD, copper 7. So I think that I have other issues that are more pressing to get a lot of the mercury out of my body. And then it's probably going to start working, because to play with mercury is, literally it's like playing with fire. And I know a lot of people who are in their 60s that did the same thing. It's amazing how many people that I know that did that.
Oh, that would be something I should ask people about.
Yeah, especially in my age range.
When they have chronic health problems. Yeah.
Yes.
So I know Dr. Wilson said it tends to be patterns of one heavy metal will clear out, and then another one, and then another one. And not everybody's the same, but I thought that was very interesting that certain went out first during this kind of detox program, and then next one and next one. And okay, so I also want to mention 2 weeks ago, I was listening to National Public Radio, the show Fresh Air, and the host, Terry Gross, was interviewing an author, 45-year-old Megan O'Rourke, wrote a book called The Invisible Kingdom. And she was writing about her personal struggle to find diagnosis and treatment for her. She had a lot of very serious health problems, including like nerve shock pain, brain fog, extreme fatigue, other symptoms. And she said the conventional doctors were very quick to say, well, I think you need to see a psychiatrist, and kind of blame it on her mind. And she, they would take tests, but there was no test that indicated what was wrong. And she eventually found a treatment that she had to fly to Britain for that was very helpful for a year or two, and then her symptoms came back to some extent. But she was trying to find out more about it. She interviewed Dr. Noel Rose, the father of autoimmune research, and he told her, quote, "In some cases with autoimmune disease, our tests only show damage when the organ under attack is 80% destroyed," end of quote. So she says, what do we do with millions of people who have these kind of illnesses, but no tests that shows what's wrong? And she said we need something that's evidence-based. And to me, that's what this program is. It's evidence-based, based on the hair test results. And so I thought it'd be helpful if we could look at a couple of hair tests of mine, and you tell us what you can see from them. So let
Absolutely.
me share the screen and get it up here for us. Now, this is the recent one. We'll start with this one here, right? My first one.
Yes. Yeah, that one.
This is, wrong way, sorry. Just
That's
so people
okay.
can see, this is the whole picture, but then, so we can discuss it more, so you can see it more clearly. I'll just do the top half and then the bottom half.
That's perfect. Yes. Okay, so on this top half of this graph, this is called your hair tissue mineral analysis. And this top half all the way across the board, from going from the left side to the right side, that looks at all the nutrient minerals that this is addressing, essentially. And the first four, starting from the left, going to the right, the first one is calcium. The second one is magnesium. The third one is sodium, and the next one is potassium. And we could tell with the hair chart like this, everybody's hair chart, we look at those first four macro minerals. They tell us a lot of data. I mean, I've already got 10 or 15 data points off of those four readings alone. And so if you look also, there's like a shaded area in the middle of this graph. That's the ranges of
right here,
what is okay, right? But if you look at across the board, there's these black marks, these solid black bars. That's the ideal range.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So if you look at the first four macro minerals, you're in what's called a 4 lows pattern. And also looking at the next four, you're in a 4 lows on your second four. So that means that your first 4 lows pattern is magnified by the second four minerals that are on this chart.
And this was 2 years ago to the month.
This was, yeah, exactly. 2 years ago to the month. When you're starting out in a 4 lows pattern, and believe me, this is where I started out. It's in Dr. Wilson would call it in his work, and would call it in dry dock, without repairs. You've got your foot on the gas and you've got your foot on the brake at the same time. This is what's going on with your adrenals and your thyroid. Nobody knows who's on first, who's on base. Nobody knows how to help you blood sugar wise or energy wise or anything. So it's just like the gas is on, but you're not going anywhere. And so what our goal is to be cruising down the interstate highway, no traffic, 75 miles an hour on cruise control. This is our goal. And you're down here stuck puttering along in your little go-kart, barely making it. That's right. What 4 lows
Spinning my wheels.
Spinning your wheels. That's kind of really the best description I can give you about 4 lows. And so this 4 lows is its own oxidation rate, it has its own program. It's imperative to get the person out of 4 lows before you work on anything else. So, and
I thought it was kind of alarming when I read that Dr. Wilson said, this is the pattern they see before people die. Not necessarily that they would die soon after, they could be in it for years, but I'm like, oh, that's not the kind of pattern I want to be in. Right.
And he also mentioned somewhat of a easily swayed and kind of a zombie pattern as well, from a mental perspective as well. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, really honestly, I could probably say that about me at some point in my life. Yes. So, yeah. With taking honest and fearless inventory of who I am.
Right.
So,
Yes.
yes.
So do you want me to go to the section
Yes.
below?
Yeah. So go down to your section below. Now, next, what we're looking at here on the lower left in this bar graph chart is the heavy metals, the toxic heavy metals. And you'll see lead, mercury to the right of it, cadmium to the right of that, arsenic, and aluminum. So not only were you in four lows, extremely depleted, extremely exhausted, you had elevated levels of aluminum and arsenic. And we can also look over a little more to your right, and in these additional minerals, you had elevated levels of molybdenum and lithium. So you were high in some things, which means when you look back over to on the left side of the toxic metals, you'll see PE with a circle in it, and PE with a circle in it, and a VPE. And what that means is that those readings are low on the lead, on the mercury, and on the cadmium. They're low, but that doesn't mean that they're not there. It means that they're hidden. You actually have more in your system than is showing on this test, and that they've been shunted to your organs. And so a lot of people if they're not aware of what these readings mean, would take a look at this test and say, oh, your lead and mercury and cadmium are just fine. You don't have any problem.
Well, actually, the reason I got into all this is in 2018, I took a special urine test with a supplement that helped pull the heavy metals out into the urine, and it said my lead level was 5 times higher than safe. So this was just a few months after that. Yeah, and well, no, that was a year after that, but I know it wasn't all out by then.
Right. In fact, I haven't seen you really dumping a lot of lead.
No, not yet.
Right?
No, that's down the line.
So the good news is that your body is trying to sequester it the best it can, and your body is healing, and eventually it will start dumping the lead. When you get the lead out, it's going to be a really, like, oh, happy day. So
I'm ready for that.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm not ready, but I'll look forward to that.
But we have all of these things. So we've got lead, the mercury, the cadmium, the arsenic, the aluminum, nickel, and cobalt. We got with the ones on the left over here, where in the toxic metal box on the left side, those are the ones that we want to get out as much as possible. There are so many negative things, like if you have too much aluminum in your system, you can easily have forgetfulness and Alzheimer's and that sort of thing. And arsenic is really no walk in the park for the various health in your body. The same thing with cadmium, is super toxic. I can't remember right off the top of my head what some of the symptoms are of cadmium poisoning, but mercury for sure. I remember you could get Mad Hatter's. They call it Mad Hatter's syndrome because back in the day when the furs were being trapped, people were tanning the furs with mercury and they'd go insane.
Mm-hmm.
And also there's some thought that it was, I believe it was Beethoven that went deaf and a bit crazy because he had so much lead in his system.
Oh, that's too bad.
He was drinking out of a fired ceramic cup that had been glazed with lead pigments at the time.
Yeah, I know lead slows people down, slows down their brain functioning, makes them more depressed, or could.
Yeah, mental retardation in children is not uncommon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine, she had cadmium from her parents' mom smoking, so she got arthritis when she was young.
And I believe that.
Arthritis.
Yeah, believe that. Okay, so we're going to just kind of move down to the very bottom of this hair test. And it shows what is here is we're going to look at your calcium magnesium ratio. And that's the first thing on the first line right there. And that is what's happening with the ratio between your calcium and your magnesium. How is your blood? How is your blood sugar? What's going on there? And then the next one, and it's close to ideal, but remember you're in 4 lows also.
Yeah.
So when you've got to look at your ratios, and then you need to look at the individual minerals also, because sometimes you get more information.
Oh, yes.
And so then we're going to look at your calcium to potassium, which is your second line, and that's high. So you're going to look at those ratios, and you see that calcium to potassium, that's your adrenals. It's high. It means your adrenals are working a bit much more than they should be.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what these ratios are all about. And then your oxidation rate, you're a mild, slow oxidizer, which is a great place to be. I've seen people who are moderate slows, extreme slow oxidizers. I was an extreme slow oxidizer. And so it took me a lot longer to come out of my 4 lows.
Yeah.
Mild slow or mild fast is a great place to be. So now let's take a look at you 2 years later. And here we are 2 years later. Look at the, and so this only makes me really excited and happy to see this chart because I know what I'm looking at. But your calcium and your magnesium, look at the levels. You're almost perfect. And your blood sugar level is just almost spot on. Your sodium and potassium, again, this is your adrenals. It's almost in the perfect. The sodium's a bit high, but you're also dumping heavy metals, and you can see you're dumping heavy metals when you see a sodium or potassium elevation. Also, your iron, if you scroll up just a hair so we can look at your previous readings. So the numbers in the bottom here, so your iron is 1.0, and now we're looking at 0.7. So your iron has raised up, which is amazing for you. It's taken you 2 years to get here, Suzanne.
Yes.
And this means that you're starting to dump biounavailable iron. You're starting to eliminate that biounavailable iron, and these pathways are opening up and starting to really start working better together. And the same thing with the copper, which is right next to it. It was 1.0, and now it's 1.1. And it doesn't seem like a 0.1 is much of a difference.
Doesn't.
But it is. It's pretty significant when you're looking at really tiny numbers. And that's a big movement. And so you've got some really beautiful things going on here. I have yet to see a chart that's perfect. And when I do, I'll shout it to the high heavens.
Okay.
You know,
we'll have a special show about that.
Yeah,
and what the person did. What did you do to get to
what did you do?
Yeah.
Did it for 20 years. You know, this is a slow process. This is nothing that's going to happen over a weekend. You can't detox over a weekend and think that you're getting
no
quick fixes. That's right. So let's move on here to let's look at your heavy metal status. Look at your lead. You were dumping your lead is elevated. It's higher, right? So it's 0.047. Last test, it was 0.067. So last test, you were dumping lead, you were dumping mercury, you were dumping some look, this test, you're dumping cadmium. And you were dumping, like last test, we had a pattern called everything coming out.
Yes.
Which was heavy metals coming out, at least 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
This test, look, you've got lead, you got mercury, you got cadmium, you got aluminum, you've got molybdenum. All of those are elevated and dumping out. Nice.
Yeah.
This means that your body is really starting to remineralize, essentially remineralize. And so what happens is, for example, say that your body is like you've got so much lead, lead will replace calcium as far in the cell, and use that as like
I read that when we're stressed, we use up more minerals, but when the mineral's gone, the body's got to use something or else it's going to die. So it looks around and finds what's the molecular structure closest to it. And in this case, it would be lead.
Yes. And in the case of zinc, it's mercury. So people who think that they're going to take their kid and do chelation therapy, they're wrong, because they can chelate until the cows come home. But that cell is not going to dump out that mercury until it's healthy enough to get some zinc in it. And then it'll say, okay, oh, yay, I got my zinc. Okay, now I can dump the mercury.
Now I can get rid of the stuff. Yeah, bad part.
Yes. And this is going on with you. Your cell's going, oh, I've got calcium and I can use this calcium. It's not an irritant. It's not just hanging out in the body. It's not making me, my joints, all of this is saying, I can use the calcium. Okay, adios lead. I'm ready to dump a little bit, ready to dump what's safe.
Yeah.
Yes. And the beauty of what's going on is that your body knows just how much it can dump. It's not going to dump more than you can handle.
That is good to know, because I know, I overdo things. So
right.
Glad the body has its own wisdom.
Thank God. What's right. He did. So you have your calcium. So going to your ratios down here in the very bottom here, your calcium magnesium is within optimal limits, which is your blood sugar. Your thyroid, which you've been having some challenges with your thyroid, it's just barely mild that fast. Mm-hmm. Same thing with your adrenals. If you look at it's the third line down, which is the NAMG.
Yes.
If you look at that, your previous ratio was 11.33 and you've dropped it to 6.80. That was a big, major flip for you. And you've been doing with, Suzanne, you've been dealing with chronic fatigue, like debilitating chronic fatigue and pushing through. And now look, now you did get a little bit of Synthroid on board to help you out because you really needed to have that.
Yeah.
So let's not say that you should never, ever use a pharmaceutical.
Nope. I tried 8 years to use supplements. It just wasn't enough.
Right.
So I'm very happy to, more grateful now than at the beginning to use it.
Exactly. And it's very much indicated in your case. So, and at some point in time, you may be healthy enough to not need it. But right now you are rolling in clover with this. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And what I like about this, when you tell me all the progress I'm making, it's so confirming, because sometimes, I suppose because the heavy metals are coming out, or I do still push too hard sometimes, I feel so tired. And normally I would think, oh, it's not working. I'm not getting better. I'll never get better. But I can look at this and say, it is working. I am getting better. Not that I could, wouldn't help to rest more, but not to give up. It's right there, and proof, scientific proof.
I really like that. And the same for me. That's why I like to do my tests, and I like to do, we do tests every 6 months, just so in case you need to have your program updated, let's look and see where you're at with your see if we need to tweak things. Mm-hmm. And for me, it tells me where I've progressed.
Right.
So, yes.
Well, thank you for that quick explanation. And it's been very informative. And so you said you still have some openings to work with people. If people wanted to know more about, maybe sign up underneath you or learn about your practice, where should they go?
Oh, thank you for that. It's I have a website, and it's called Better Living with Rosemary. www.betterlivingwithrosemary.com.
I'll put a link underneath the video.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I am working with people. It's my pleasure to work with people. It feels it's so much in alignment with, for me to be able to support people feels very much in alignment with who I am.
Yes.
And my life path.
Right.
I really do. And I really do enjoy supporting people. And I really love to watch people grow. And it's so cool to have watched you grow over just the 2 years that we've been together, because you're exploring more with your art. You're exploring more with your music.
That's true. My brain's working better.
I know.
I had given up playing piano, and now I play almost every night, and I got a YouTube channel with my recordings.
And you are creating YouTubes. And you couldn't have done that 2 years ago.
No,
I know you couldn't have.
I remember a year ago, I said, can I interview you? And you said yes. And then I think, oh, it's too much. Maybe someday.
Yes. And now here it is.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, if someone was to work with you, what would they expect? How did you want to tell them more about what that would be like?
You get it's like a package deal. It's one price, and you get your hair mineral analysis done by the lab, and you get multiple analysis done by me. You get a protocol. You get the analysis, the protocol. You get support from me, either email or in person. When you get your first hair mineral test, I usually go over it in great detail. And
yes, you do.
Then,
you did with me. Yeah.
Thank you. And then as people start maturing into the program, if they want to have a longer in depth, I do that, because it's interesting when we first get on the program, we're going, oh my God, what am I going to do? I can't wrap my mind around all of these pieces. So I try to help people go, as long as you're just starting, as long as you're doing the program, then that's all you can do is take one step at a time. One piece at a time.
You can't always do the whole program at once. You just.
And there's a lot of people who feel like they've got to do it perfectly.
All or nothing.
Or they're not. It's all or nothing. And I'm here to tell you, when I first started, I was working at least 80-hour work week. And I'd get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do my enemas and do my cooking all of my food so that I could take my thermos, because I was out in the field from 7 o'clock in the morning to about 7 o'clock at night. And then I come home and have to do all my paperwork. And I'm telling you, it was a grind. I was in 4 Lows, and you tell me, you talk about somebody running in with the wheels running, and I was running in park. I was running myself into the ground.
Yeah.
But what I did was I started. I had to start somewhere. I had to do something. And over time, I've had the ability to recognize and see where I was 7 years ago. I'm not the same person. I'm not absolute. I'm way better. This is a better model that we're talking to right here.
Yes.
A more rested model, a more mature model, a more together model.
Centered, like you're more centered. Yeah. Balanced.
Yes. So I say, take one step at a time. That's all you can do. Do the best you can do in this one day. If you can't eat organic vegetables that you go to the harvest and you go to the market and you get them that day and you frolic on over to your house and you cut them up and then you cook them and then you eat them. We don't have time for that. So if you can cook yourself up a batch of those, great. If you can't find good organic, find the best conventional you can.
Yeah.
If you can't find either, go for frozen. If you can't do that, go for canned. Any vegetable is better than no vegetable at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's so many good minerals in them and other things that we even haven't measured probably.
And so give yourself permission to know that nobody is doing this perfect. If you're doing it perfect, you're counting yourself right up there. You're just as perfect as God. You don't even need to be on this planet anymore. Right. You're perfect. You got it. The rest of us little mortals that are down here, we're just slogging it out one day at a time.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to help people when they're feeling really, really stuck or frustrated or whatever. That's what I do, is I try to support people in the way they need supported.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And I know, like, people who aren't used to spending money out of pocket may still think it's a lot lot of money, but I know for a fact that most of the money that you charge goes towards the test. So I feel you're doing this as a service. It's like it's your mission, because you really, I know you don't get paid that much per hour for, at least I know I took for the amount of time you spent with me, for the amount of money that any of us were left after the test. So I appreciate that and the work that you're doing to help
Thank you.
become healthier.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that, because people go, oh my gosh, $200, that's a lot of money. And yes, it is a lot of money. When you really look at it, it is a ministry, really is my ministry. I got into this not to make $1 million, not to do anything. I knew it was helping me. I knew it was helping the families that I was working with.
Yeah.
And I knew that most people that land up coming to see me are burnt out. They're like burnt out with a capital B.
Right.
And they've had it.
But by the way, I do have to leave in a couple minutes.
Okay.
For
Anyway,
4:15.
so, yeah.
But no, I know, like in 2018, the test itself cost $125, and it may have gone up since then, but and it's worth it if it's just, I just want to let people know a little bit
Thank
about
you.
that. So, well, thank you so much for meeting with me today, and I hope everybody that listens finds it helpful, and please share it if you want, and contact Rosemary if you're interested in more information.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. This has been a lot of fun. I really have enjoyed it.
Me too.
Okay. Talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye. Hello, I'm back. After I finished the interview, I realized I forgot to ask Rosemary how the program helped her physically. So I wanted to mention that. She said, she wrote to me that it helps in that her energy is now steady. She has been able to finally quit consuming sugar. Her blood sugar has stabilized. Therefore, her moods and emotions have really started to stabilize. She used to be angry a lot, and now she's not. The scar is healing up on her face. She said, I rarely get sick anymore, maybe once a year during spring with intense weather changes. And that her chronic lifelong earaches are rare and seldom. Her weight is normal. Her eyes are bright. Her hair is in great shape, and her muscle aches and pains are resolving, also with the help of body work and the program. Also, to make it more clear how targeted this program is, at the end of this video, I put photographs of a part of my protocol, my last protocol, a picture of the supplements that I'm recommended to take at this time, idea for inexpensive sauna, if you can't afford to buy a kit or a more expensive one, using infrared lights, and a diagram how that could be. I'll link, I have another video about infrared lights that I can link below. Typical food for one day, food plan, and my hair test that I went over during the video on March 3rd, 2020, and also my hair test done on February 24th, 2022. Also, if you do read about the whole program, it can be daunting because there's so much asked of you. And I just want to reiterate, just do one step at a time. Sometimes just do one part of the program, such as a sauna or changing the food or the supplements. And then when you feel better, you can do more. If you read more, you get more motivated, you can do more of the program. If you can't afford to buy a consultation with the lab test, Dr. Lawrence Wilson does have a free program in terms of supplements and food recommendations. And Dr. Wilson has a similar program as the one that Rosemary does. He believes that this program, his is called Nutritional Balancing Development Program. He said that it fulfills the genetic potential of a human being, helps with the growth of the spiritual aspect of the person, causes the healing on most of the physical and mental disorders, heals hidden, latent, and subclinical health conditions, removes more than 24 toxic metals and hundreds of toxic chemicals from the body, and rebuilds the body at the deepest level. So although there's a lot to the program, there's a tremendous lot that can be benefited from the program. I'll put more information to learn. You can learn about from Dr. Eck, who started it all in the first place. A link below this video. Thank you for listening, and share it with any of your friends. Have a good day.